All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I am here with Goose.
What's up?
Heck.
Yo.
And Gabe. We are here. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. This is episode number 75. Guys, we made it. 75 episodes
dude.
in.
75.
Do you not love it?
Awesome.
Back to school. In this episode, the crew talks about the experiences with going back to school, both as kids and as adults. We cover topics that range from the first day of school, our favorite outfits, our best school memories, and handling our children in school. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Shakuntala Devi and Tom Bodett. We'll leave the light on for you.
That is a tongue twister.
There it is. If you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download, subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning. As stated before, we'd like to start each episode off with a definition from dictionary.com, and we define the title school, the word school, an institution for instruction in a particular skill or field, a regular course of meetings of a teacher or teachers and student for instruction, program of instruction. So that's pretty straightforward, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start off with a story from guy-sports.com titled Back to School Jokes. And they gave a bunch of them. So I just grabbed the one, just thought it was kind of, silly, funny.
Yeah.
And it goes like this. Early one morning, a mother went in to wake her son up. Wake up, son. It's time to go to school. The son. But why, Mom? I don't want to go. Give me 2 reasons why you don't want to go. Well, the kids hate me, for one, and the teachers hate me, too. Oh, that's no reason not to go to school. Come on now and get ready. Give me 2 reasons why I should go to school. The mom. Well, for one, you're 52 years old, and for another, you're the head teacher. That's hilarious.
Nice.
All right, so we're talking back to school, right? It's early September. The feeling is in the air kind of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Back to school, we have kids. I know Heck in particular and Goose in particular have kids that are going actually back to school. My son James is 3. Of course, he goes to school all year round, but he actually did move up a level. I wouldn't say grade level. I don't know how they categorize it, but they have like little harder projects, more challenging.
Oh, yeah. I went to school all year round.
Heck went to school all year round.
Unfortunately.
And now he can fill up a whole school.
Exactly.
And
now he can fill up
the
the
whole
whole
school.
Yeah, he's definitely paying his dues back.
Yeah. Smart guys. I'm smart.
4 girls, summer school for him. For how many years was that? 5 years in a row?
It was 2 years in a row for English.
2 years in a row for English.
The main language. I spoke Spanish half the time, that's why.
Entonces, when I was back in the escuela.
That's what happened.
That's hilarious. So, I mean, we've all been through, right? Getting back to school. We've been through every grade. All of us graduated high school. So that means we went from at least kindergarten through 12th grade, right?
Yes, sir.
What do you guys think the big deal is? Aside from, achieving, the next level in school, but there's so much excitement around the first day of school. In your opinion, what do you think it is?
Clothes.
What was it for you?
For me, it was getting dressed up and putting on my new sneakers that I bought in the summertime that I wasn't allowed to wear, and they had to sit in the closet until September of school, that school year. So to me, that's what it was. And, hanging out, not that we didn't hang out with our friends, but like we always had our own groups or whatever. And then going to school is like you saw all your friends from school. You know what I mean? Like
The ones you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, that's what I always looked forward to.
Yeah, just to
My new book bags. That's what I was more excited to.
Yeah, I used to wear a new bag every year.
Book
yeah,
bags.
book bag. And depending what grade, we some kids got excited for lunch boxes. If you grew up in the
Trapper
Velez
keeper.
household, we had brown paper
I was gonna
bags.
say,
Yeah.
Brown
Brown
that
bags.
ripped half the time bringing them
Sure.
to class.
That
'Cause we used to have
brown
like the
paper
little Huggies inside
Oh,
of them.
yeah.
Cold.
It
Oh
would
my
sometimes
goodness.
leak.
Yo.
And like
I remember
Swiss
that.
cakes or oatmeal pies with a
Yep.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich or like a
Mm,
ham and cheese
pies.
sandwich.
What was the Star Cracker ones? It was like Rice Krispies with caramel and chocolate.
Star Crunch.
Star Crunch. Oh,
Star
my
Crunch is
favorite,
amazing.
dude. With
That's
glass of
Manny's
milk.
favorite too. Too bad Manny's not here. Manny
Vaz.
when we were in Temple, Manny brought a box of Star Crunch.
Did he really?
And for some reason, I don't let it die. His favorite, snack as a kid was Star Crunch. I always say it's not, but I always say that just busting his chops. It's hilarious. I don't know why. I just thought one time his mom offered us Star Crunch. We were kids, and he got so excited. So I always go back to that one moment.
Oh, man.
Like, dude, you were so excited. He's like, yeah, because we're eating snack. Wasn't that's my favorite? So every time we're talking, I'm like, oh, this dude loves Star Crunch. He's like, dude, you always say that. Why do you always say that?
And then he made the mistake of getting a box of them. So
Yeah.
So he's got a box of
He
Star
bought
Crunch.
the Sam's Club box too.
Oh my goodness.
It wasn't
80
a
pies
six.
in a box.
One of my classic favorites was definitely oatmeal pies.
Exactly. I was thinking exactly.
I mean, we had the moon pies. We had the Swiss, those little Swiss cakes.
The Swiss rolls.
Swiss rolls.
Those were good.
Then we had like the strawberry
fudge.
shortcake versions
Oh,
of them,
yeah.
and
Oh,
then
yeah.
those brownies,
The brownies
with the little.
Yeah.
Well, mommy always got the walnuts.
Walnuts.
She didn't get
yeah,
the little
my
sprinkled
kids-
walnuts.
I
My
love
girls
those.
get the ones with the sprinkles on
I
top
love
of
the
it.
walnuts.
I see. I like the plain. The walnuts kind of like threw me off
I
a
don't
little
care
bit.
for the walnuts.
I might have had an allergy, but I don't think allergies were out then.
They
I
weren't
just turned like
they weren't a
my
thing.
face just got swollen. Yeah,
just
it just
kept on
wasn't a
playing.
thing.
It wasn't
yet,
a
so
thing.
Wow,
we didn't
you got
give in.
big all of a sudden.
Yeah, my face blew up.
Oh, it's my daily facial expand.
Yeah, so allergies weren't in style yet. But yeah, it was just to also make something clear. We all here went to public school, right? Gabe, you
Yeah.
went to public school, yeah. So that's the reason why Heck's talking about his outfit and stuff. I know a lot of people who went to private school or Catholic school. They had uniforms. And
Well, even
got dressed
especially
up.
now, a lot of public schools have
Yeah, yeah.
some,
Yeah,
kind of
or
uniform
some
stuff,
level
too.
of uniform.
Our old elementary school, they have uniform now.
Yeah, it's like a red polo and like khakis or something.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. I don't know. I'm in between, I guess. I don't know because I never experienced it really. I just experienced what we had.
Yeah.
I mean, I see its pros and cons because
I-
my girls
I-
wear uniforms, and you get up in the morning, you don't have to think about what in the world they're gonna wear or
True.
get angry about what they're wearing. No, it's not. It's get your shirt, get your dress, keep it moving.
Yeah, and
That's
I
all it
see it
is.
as like it's almost like an equal thing for everyone. So you're not worried
Yeah.
about who has like high end clothing, like I
Yeah.
don't know, little kids wearing polo clothes as opposed to kids wearing like cheaper clothing.
Faded
So
glory.
it's not. Yeah, it's not like a. So honestly, you see all the kids walking in, they all look equal, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't
And it's
know
not a
what the
distraction.
actual. Like I said, I haven't been involved with that whole ordeal just yet, but I would assume the focus is education. That's the reason why,
Right,
not
absolutely.
on our
Yeah.
appearances, which what it should always be anyway. We're
Yeah.
here to
I mean,
teach
it's-
education.
My daughter Ava, she's 10 and she's hitting those levels where she worries about her appearance, and now it's all about like
Yeah.
kind of like name brand clothing, and it's kind
Yeah.
of tough because you want to you want her to have it so she fits in, but then at the same time you want her to know it's not all about that. It's not just I'm gonna go to school with like an Abercrombie shirt,
Yeah.
just because everyone has one.
Right.
So it's pretty hard. And then your kids have, right? You said uniforms.
They have uniforms,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, my kids just wear whatever. They like literally. My 12-year-old has no specific store. She's not in competition with any. I mean, she mainly likes to wear like Adidas stuff.
Yeah.
So, but that's
Because
probably the only thing.
It's not instilled in her head from her school.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So like, and the Adidas stuff is like from the girls she hangs out with at dance and softball. So it's like that loose attire, like I guess they athletic wear, so per se.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't have to go like you were saying Abercrombie and or Hollister or even like they know about like Gucci and all that stuff. So
Well, that's
fortunately for me,
your kids wearing Gucci.
well, I'm just saying. Well, time out. I saw some kid today at the baseball field, whether it was real or not. He could be no more than 15 years old, rocking a red Gucci belt. I was like, I don't know if that's real or not, but he's still rocking it.
That's
like he
interesting.
knows. So, just saying. So the kids know.
Yeah.
It's all
Well,
competition too. The
absolutely.
Jordans. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. Deal with the Jordans.
Yeah.
Dude, but even still, like regular, obviously, sneakers are expensive.
Absolutely.
Ava's like regular basic, like she's
sure.
like you said, Adidas. Dude, they're like $80-$90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basic ones.
James is 3, and like everyone knows, like we're not going out getting the craziest thing. Literally, he has a pair of little Air Maxes or like these little regular Nikes. His foot is so small that it's still at the top. Some of them still have the strap at the top.
Yeah.
and you're still
Right,
it's
yeah.
a $50 shoe.
So they're almost comparable to
Yeah, and I'm
adult
like,
shoes.
what do
Yeah.
you mean?
What sucks is they're still growing, so they last them. Like
Yeah, so it
6
doesn't
months,
last
not
a
even a
fraction
year.
of the,
Yeah.
of the
So he was
time.
like, we're down the shore. He's like jumping in puddles, and like initially you get mad, but I'm like, well, it's not gonna fit him in 2 weeks anyway, so might as well
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
jump
let
in a
him
puddle.
jump in it. But I was like yesterday, I went out and bought sneakers for Nova and Danica, and I saw them online. I went to Journey for Kids. I'm not promoting, but I went there and I knew what I wanted to get. So I picked out these New Balances, and original price were $44.99. Dude, the shoe is probably the size of this. Danica's shoe is probably this big. Well, size of a coaster. If everyone knows, like an average size of a coaster. But and I'm like $44.99, and then the girl was like, "No, they're on sale for $24.99." I'm like, "All right, well that makes a lot more sense." So went ahead and bought Nova the same pair.
So you got
too.
5 of them.
So no, I bought 2 pair. So instead of buying one for the $45, I bought 2 for $45 because I had a coupon.
Wow.
Dude, nah, when you got 14
Bargain.
kids, you got a bargain, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
I'm all for the BOGO.
So for us, we all went to public school. So going back to school, it was that excitement of your outfit. Like I remember, like the night before, we would lay the outfits out and just like look at him. Like, man, I'm gonna kill him in the morning. You know what I mean? Like that whole like funny thing or whatever. And it's hilarious. Like when you look back at it now, sadly, that was our excitement about school, right?
Yep.
And you could see why they're kind of converting to like uniforms and just like, all right, let's take the attention off the nonsense and actually focus to the reason why you're here to get an education. And how like boring that sounds to some people, I get it, but it really should be the focus. If you're at a school, the focus obviously is education. It's 8 hours of the day. There's still plenty of time to do other things. Now, I'm not sure, how that plays to every individual because even people say like even when kids wear uniforms, they still kind of have their own style as to how they do their hair or like the earrings they wear or how they actually wear the uniform. And even then there's like ways like rules and regulations against that per se. So I do think it does focus and it makes us use our minds, and individuality is now expressed using your intelligence basically over and not even intelligence, just like your personality. It's who you really are, instead of allowing like the sneaker because your parents can afford it or they just broke their back trying to afford it. And that is, he's the kid who always rocks the expensive clothes or the expensive sneakers. Now it turns into the education and really to me sports education and sports. So it's like it's having like that multiple thing. So beyond you hit the books, but I feel like you need to have that other dimension building on its way. I'm not saying pay all 4 sports all year round, or just and not even sports, just other activities like being in like the choir or being in like the music club or whatever the school offers is really utilizing those I guess resources that are provided. Because I went to a public school, a really small public school. We graduated with 70-something kids. Oh, wow. I mean, literally, it was tiny. And even then, like, in all honesty, we had a lot of, relatively speaking, we weren't going against a 4A school when we're talking about resources. Yeah, they had much more. I mean, they had like cricket. I mean, as a sport that you could play for their high school.
I thought that meant chasing.
I mean,
crickets.
we didn't even have soccer in our school. That's how small our school was. They couldn't even put a team together.
Yeah, even golf. Golf started later on in the years.
Yeah,
I think I was like my junior year in high school is when golf came around, and that's when you were playing, right? What grade?
Well,
were
we
you?
weren't in the same grade, but
no, we weren't in the same grade.
I started in
9th grade.
I guess it was my freshman year. I want to say it was earlier next. I remember Mr. Russo being the coach. But yeah, I mean, same thing with bowling.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like my parents didn't have bowling and golf as, offered to them. I did. Unfortunately, fortunately, my mom didn't want or allow us to play football. Yeah. So golf was the same season as football. So it didn't matter. So I was still playing a sport.
Okay.
I played cheerleading.
Yeah, I ran cross country during football season.
Yeah, so Goose ran cross country during football season. So we're always doing something. And that little speck of utilizing your resources is even how small or minute. We didn't know any better. Like we just thought that's what you did. You know what I'm saying? Like we studied, we did our homework, did our whatever we had to do. Then we had like an extracurricular activity, right?
Yeah.
There's people who have all the resources under the sun. I was at when I was at Temple. Somebody, we got in conversation. People were saying fencing was available to them at their high school.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Dude,
Tennis.
That seems like
Yeah.
Just even tennis is like a worldwide sport.
What's that? Is that row? What's that?
Row, yeah.
Is that do they have that in high school? In some high schools?
Yeah.
Row?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
how do you get into it from like, I know we never had that, but I'm just saying like, you go into college, you're like, oh, I want to try rowing.
Well, yeah, because I remember there's kids at Temple University who had scholarships.
For row?
Yeah,
rowing? Wow,
but I'm
that's crazy.
assuming it's people that were obviously their school was by a river or some body of
Naturally, yeah.
More
water.
Sure.
Those higher private schools have that
Yeah.
stuff. Dude, I remember like our district didn't even have buses. So
Yeah.
it's funny because we tell kids like, yeah, we walked like a mile from school to work, or I mean to home, from school to home, or home to school. Like it sounds like one of those long tales. Yeah, we walked 10 miles
had to
barefooted.
walk 10
All dude, but we our school
14 blocks barefoot.
from our house to like honestly was probably close to like a mile.
It's more than that. It's
Yeah,
more than
if
that.
not more. But we walked to school, or my mom would drop us off, but we definitely walked home at least a
Every day
mile
we walked
plus
home.
every day.
But
And it
you
was
know what,
nothing though. It
Yeah,
was
we
nothing
didn't-
to us.
we
It was
didn't think about
that's
that.
just what everyone did. It was
Yeah.
just we didn't even think about it. There was
Everyone in
no
the town walked home from
Yeah.
school. Like we just walked home. And then sometimes you didn't even have to necessarily go straight home. I remember like for baseball season, it was class was over. You go to the locker room, get changed, and we walk to the baseball field,
yeah.
which is like whatever half a mile away. So you had to go over railroad tracks or under railroad tracks, and got to school. It wasn't until like
Yeah.
our senior year where like two of our buddies actually had not even had their license, but actually had their own car. Like, it was two kids like in our entire school that we knew that could, and that was involved in the things that we were involved with that could take us to sports. Other than that, we were just walking. And again, we didn't think anything of it. Like everybody
So
was
just
doing
normal.
it. So
Just
yeah.
was what it was.
So normal.
Now you got to think too. Bristol's like what, like 3 miles long.
Yeah, I would
So
say
it's like
2.5, 3 miles,
within, and we're talking about Bristol Borough. So within like, you're confined into, you have everything is in the town. I mean, we had diner, multiple restaurants, like a Burger King. We had stores. We had like
Grocery
corner
store.
stores. We had
Bunch
a
of pizza
groceries. We had a
places.
pharmacy. Everything's within that 3
Video
miles. So
store.
video, yeah. So like
didn't
our
have to
post
leave
office,
the
you didn't
town.
have to leave necessarily. So at one point, you kind of get used to just walking everywhere. That was just like a way of life for us.
Dude, we would walk to the grocery store with our grandma and carry the grocery bags.
Back.
Well, that's why
Back
Bristol
home.
is the best small town in America.
And we're talking about Bristol Borough. It's got ranked as the best small town in America for 2017. So that is the town that we grew up in.
That's awesome.
But yeah, even just going back to that, like the whole school thing, everybody got excited for what they were wearing or the next day. But it went beyond that. That's like the most shallow thing you could possibly say. But even after a while, I know people were excited to, you got excited to what homeroom you were going to be in,
Yeah.
who you had classes with. Because once you got into high school, we were like rotating classes.
Yeah.
We weren't, in elementary school, you stayed in one classroom the whole day.
Yep.
For us, well, we had like a computer class, which was like, we're talking like MS-DOS. Is that what it's called?
Well, that's
DOS.
yeah, DOS. I mean, that's like super basic. Like
It was like green. It was black
green.
and green
Yeah.
screens.
yeah, so that is
just-
MS
it's
DOS.
all-
Yeah.
it's just the
That's
commands.
what
DOS
we
is
had.
just like text.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, it's pretty
commands
much
you
what
tell
it
it
was.
what to do.
I forget what the heck. We had one game you could play.
Well,
Floyd.
Throwing in floppy disks.
well, yeah, I know, but like we had like it was super old Macs, which
Oh, wow.
which you didn't have. Yeah, you had little floppy disks. You had like number munchers and like Oregon Trail and stuff.
Oh,
like that.
number
Oregon Trail, that's what
munchers.
it
I
was.
remember that. Number munchers? That was
Yeah.
And I remember like when we were leaving, like 7th, 8th grade, whatever it was, before like obviously we went to high school, they had like a little tiny like upgraded version of like a little Mac, like 4 or 5 like computers.
Yeah.
And they had like a small group that was playing like SimCity and stuff on there. It was like
Whoa. That was
that
like
was
that was a
big.
thing.
That was a big thing.
because
SimCity.
yeah, so you had like I had a little small test group of like trying to get that out, but we had like everybody else use super like crappy old versions. Because I remember when I was in high school, I was part of the computer lab, and I was like maybe 11th, 12th grade, whatever it was. I remember my elementary school computer teacher. He came over there because they were like we were getting rid of a bunch of our old computers. That like, we got like a grant or something to get a bunch of new computers.
Yeah.
And they like a bunch of the local schools were getting where like the computer lab and stuff were coming in to I guess grab our old
Take
computers
the old
to-
ones for them.
to reuse them. I guess what is it called, the
Image?
Yeah, I guess reimage or whatever it's called, refurbish, whatever.
Yeah.
So they can
refurbished.
use them in their computer lab. But they were like, so I remember seeing him like all suited up because he was like our gym teacher. Because that's
good.
what it always was. The gym teacher was the computer lab teacher.
That's great.
awesome.
Wow.
That's great.
So
Yeah, I remember like having like you're talking about computers. We had like our library in school had just this one room with maybe 20 computers, and that was it.
because actually like it was weird because I think our in high school our library had in the back there was like a random separate computer lab, but it was a side thing where I worked at in the computer lab, which was a whole big room like which I had administrator stuff on the side with had like the little server and all stuff, but it actually had like a room of like 30 computers, which whole classes would come in there and like have obviously class and stuff in there. But that's where I worked at. But there was like a random one where you could just go on your lunch break and just go into the back of the library and just like rent a computer, quote unquote.
Yeah, we could only use them for homework, and not homework. It was like if there was projects due or whatever. Like we were only allowed to like look stuff up within a report or something like that. Like I don't recall like us sitting there and surfing the net.
Nah, if we had study hall, if we had study hall, we were allowed to like surf the web. The computers were limited. Like you could only go to like excite.com.
I don't even recall
and
that.
like Google wasn't even out then. It was like Excite and something else.
It was I think before it was like everybody used like Yahoo or whatever that was on there.
Yeah.
But it was like Yahoo powered by
AOL.
Yeah.
Or even like it was Netscape and
Netscape was what it was.
AOL.
Ask Jeeves.
We didn't have AOL. That was not in
No?
high school. No, they wouldn't allow that.
Yeah, it was either in Explorer or like Netscape was like the the Mac
Netscape.
version.
I remember being like even at Temple, like YouTube was blocked. Like you couldn't even when YouTube first came out. They found it as like a threatening website or whatever it was.
Or they thought it was a thing like
Distraction, maybe.
yeah, it was something
No,
where
college they don't care about distractions.
like I know.
That's when
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Assume like YouTube was like just like a
think
a
YouTube
random
came out
behind like
before.
video site where you could get like viruses and all that crap, whatever. Not
Yeah,
realizing it's
gotcha.
actually run by Google. Well, I think at that point it wasn't run by Google.
No,
it
it
was
wasn't.
not ran by
No,
Google.
it was not.
It was owned by who knows.
Yeah, it was ran with you and Tube, and them two put it together. YouTube.
Yeah, 2005 that came out.
On Valentine's Day, what were you guys doing?
So I was at Temple, and that's what I was saying. It was
Wow,
2005, and I think Google's what?
When they Google
90.
buy
Oh,
it.
not Google. I'm sorry, not Google.
Facebook.
New stuff. Oh yeah, it was then. Facebook was like 06, like the year later. There was a lot of stuff coming out within.
Yeah.
MySpace
And we
started
were
it,
in the
right?
middle of. I think MySpace is older. I think
MySpace was
like
around.
03.
Because when I started college, like MySpace at least was around.
Already
I
out.
used
Yeah.
it. Yeah, because I had MySpace in high school, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
me too. Yeah, 2003.
Mm.
That was my senior year.
No, because so it was like part
No,
of
that
You
was-
graduated that
it
year.
was like
yeah.
2 years into me. To me,
Yeah,
being
so it was
college.
my freshman year at Temple.
Okay.
Temple.
So my freshman year, MySpace came out, and that's what everyone had like their little profile, but it was like very confusing.
Oh
And
yeah.
we kind of
have
just like
music
let it
playing in
go.
the background.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You had to go into like the weird.
Oh, that's what it was. It was
programming
like
and
in
stuff.
high school. I was like, where did we get our music from? We had like LimeWire. We had
LimeWire. Bear Share.
No,
What was
what
the
was
first
the
one?
one that got like that helped the
Yes.
Facebook kid.
Napster.
There you go,
Napster.
Napster. That was the one that initially.
That's where we
that was the big
discovered
start of-
50 Cent on.
Oh wow. But that was the one that got shut down from the dudes from like Metallica and stuff like that too, because it
Yeah.
was like they rallied totally against
So
that.
they basically like Napster, even though that was like a music thing. When YouTube and all these other guys
They-
started coming out, they associated it with that. It's just these young kids coming up these websites that are harmful to
Sure.
whatever. So they were always blocked. Like literally, I remember even getting my first job. Like YouTube was blocked. Like you couldn't even. And YouTube explicit stuff at one point wasn't even allowed on there. Now
Right,
everything's allowed on YouTube. But before, when it
You
first
have to
came
mark
out,
it as explicit and all stuff.
yeah, it was like you had to mark it, and so you could still, jump on that. But we still, it's crazy because we still use like so many resources from the internet throughout like our college. Because then by the time I was a senior, we had access to like basically all this stuff. It just wasn't as profound as it is
Because I
now.
think even like when I first started, when at least YouTube, I think wasn't it limited to like certain like only like a few minutes of like video and stuff like that too.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes.
I think
or
it was
something.
2 minutes.
2.5
max.
minutes.
2 to 3 minutes max.
Yeah, 2-3 minutes.
It wasn't
max.
nothing.
Like,
Yeah.
And then it went to like years later.
Then it
And
went
then
to
it
like
was
10 minutes. I
I
never
was
forgot
about
when
to
it
say,
went to 10
I remember
minutes.
the 10-minute mark.
Yeah. I remember a 10-minute mark you were allowed to upload. Now you can put like hours on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can put like a 4-hour video on there if you want.
Yeah.
So back to school.
Yeah.
Well, this is all intertwined.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. So what about like what were your best memories like swinging it back to school? Like elementary school, middle school, and high school. You know, what was like your most memorable moment? This is not my most memorable moment, but I always remember like the fundraisers and
Okay.
people
The
getting
heck?
prizes. Like, they would have like this organized like assembly,
Okay.
and you would get called out in front of everybody if
Oh,
you had like the
yeah.
highest sales, and you got this like award in
yeah,
front of
yeah.
everybody, and it was awesome. And then the one, I never got one, so the one where I go all out, it didn't have like an assembly, and I was mad as it. I was like, I think I was in 6th grade. And I
Was
like,
that the one you had like the highest sales of
yeah,
ever? Like,
but it was like for our trip to Hershey Park.
Okay.
So I paid for my ticket, some other kid's ticket, and then they had like all extra cash. Like they gave me like a 50 or $100 or something to
Oh,
spend
okay.
while I was there, because I sold so much candy. But it was like one of those things where I didn't get like didn't have like an assembly for it. It was just like we were quote seniors.
Okay.
It was for our senior trip.
great.
But I do remember that like if you got like student of the month, you got like called out in front of the entire school.
wow.
Yeah, they made like an assembly. It was once
yeah.
a month. There was an assembly, and it was Student of the Month award.
Yeah.
And whoever was the Student of the Month would get called down. And you would walk down in front of everyone, shake the principal's hand, and get
wow.
the certificate. And then at the end, they'll take your picture in the hallway.
The one thing I do remember, actually, now that I think about it, for the we had the Dare program.
Okay.
When we were in elementary school, and my essay got picked for like we had like this essay competition about how the Dare, you know, like education influenced you or whatever. I never forget I used the word perspective, and that was the first time I heard the word. It was a vocab word in English class in 6th grade. I'm like, I'm going to use this word in my essay. And to this day, I swear that's the only reason why I got picked, because I used like that, in my mind, was a big word, perspective. In my perspective, and I used it like 20 times in the essay. But it was
Yes,
cool.
That was perspective.
Underlined it.
So I had to give that speech twice. So I
Oh, wow.
gave it like during the day in front of like the 5th and 6th graders, and then at night during some
For the
like
parents?
award, for the parents. And they gave me like this medal or whatever while I was up
wow.
there speaking. It was hilarious.
Dare Bear.
But yeah, that was
line.
a memorable moment for me for elementary school. For middle school was the first time I got in detention. It's the first time I got detention because I think it was the first time I realized there's some level of freedom. Not that it wasn't structured, but we're switching classes, so you kind of like you left class on your own,
Yeah.
and you arrived at the next class on
Yeah.
your own.
They
So it's that
expected
little
you to be
bit of
there.
independence. Yeah, you thought that you thought nothing could touch you, kind of thing. For that your mindset, I mean, you got to think I was only 13 or 12, 13 years old, and
So
I
great.
just got too goofy. I don't know, I was just being thought I was like cool, and I don't even know what I did. But I just remember being in detention. I'm like, dude, this is the first time I got in detention. Like, and a teacher sat with me, like, had a knee-to-knee conversation with me, explaining things. I'm like, wait. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, like, dude, it wasn't that serious. I remember, like, whatever I did wasn't that serious, but somehow I just got detention. But mainly because I was just a distraction in class, because I probably just thought I was cool or something. I don't know. And then in high school, of course, for me was... there's a lot of stuff in high school because high school is a big gap, and you're changing a lot yourself, mentally, physically. There's a lot going on. So when it came to sports, I made making varsity and then winning districts and becoming second team All-American. You see your name like in the paper. That was like wild for me. Like seeing and I would cut out the article and like save it for baseball or whatever. Made new friends. I opened up my mind. I'm like, yeah, we're doing bowling. We did golf. So it was like, it wasn't like the traditional sports. So a lot of stuff happened in high school. It was part of like the National Honor Society, the library club, like all that stuff that I didn't think that I would not ever do, because that sounds so like cheesy, but like it was a totally different experience. It's a different level of independence.
Yeah.
And then I somewhat, I guess you can say, took advantage of it. So I always remember that. I'm like, hey, you know what? I didn't actually hold. I probably held back a little bit, but I didn't hold back too much. In 10th grade, we had a trip to like New York, but it was called, I think it's Silver Bay, New York. I don't know if it was.
They just drove you
I don't
around the
know
block.
where I was. I don't know if I was in New Jersey, PA. I know one of our stops was West Point, the school, and so it's on the way wherever that was. I'm assuming
West
New York.
Point?
Yes, I'm assuming New York. But anyway, so I remember that there was like another level of independence. So we're on this trip, and again, basically the part, I guess the whole thing about it was, I'm assuming, to find yourself, because we're like doing like and like group dynamics, and we were writing poetry up there, and like you're in the mountains, and like we went on hikes and all this kind of stuff. It was like a teamwork thing. Now I think about it, I was like, dang, I want to do that again. Like I wish, but when you're that age, I don't think you're like taking in.
No,
you're
you don't
taking in
yeah.
so much. You're you know, you're thinking about the girl boy situation. And you're trying to like, maybe I should like.
It's a day off from school.
It's a deal. Yeah, you're thinking about like little.
Sure.
We know when you're in that environment, that level of maturity. I can only speak for myself. I wasn't like so mature where I was like taking it all in.
Oh, no.
There's probably
No, I don't think
one day that I actually genuinely took it all in, and it was a somewhat chilly day. And I remember sitting like at one of the docks, and I remember just like the breeze coming in and watching the water just kind of like shift. And I was just staring like, dang, dude, we're like lucky right now. Like we got this chance to like do this, because they had shut that trip down for multiple years because they had so many issues with kids like misbehaving.
Oh wow. Okay.
And our class like basically convinced them to
least
start
give
the
it a
trip
try.
over again, and we did good because like 2 or 3 times after us they did it too. So
Okay.
but we just had it was like one of those things where it's like it's a mark in your mind.
Sure. Yeah.
So it kind of like separated that, and then of course in high school I was part of like the homecoming court or whatever. You thought you were like cool as anything being part of that. And then like, to top it off, I just think just being part of like varsity sports for me was really baseball. That was like my favorite time, just because we're actually like a good team for how small we were, our school anyway. And then graduation, like just seeing all of, I'm going to say like 90% of the kids I graduated went to college. It was like the craziest thing. And seeing everybody on graduation day getting called for like scholarships and stuff.
Oh wow. Okay.
And me and Velazquez, my buddy Mike Velazquez, both got like the Latino Leadership Alliance Award. I think we both got like $5,000 or something, or no, like $1,000 or something like that.
Wow.
And we thought it was like, which it was like it was awesome, but we got treated like kings. I remember like they invited us out to like some like special dinner, and then like on the Puerto Rican Day Parade, we accepted our award in front of everybody. It was interesting.
That's awesome.
You had your own float.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just floating on the
Yeah,
water.
you start like looking back, and I'm just recalling that right now. Like I forgot about, honestly, not that I forgot about it, but I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Until like I'm thinking about it now. But yeah, and that all like the back to school thing, that the nostalgic thing. I just want to go back to my host. I just want to walk the hallways, just to see what it's like.
Because
Yeah, that would be cool.
I actually did it like
Multiple
somewhat to that level, just because the building I went to high school in, they were demolishing it. So like they had a thing where everybody can come back and like the last like weekend, whatever it was, you can go back and just walk through the school and
Punch the walls.
Well, the school was halfway falling apart anyway, but
Jeez.
but it was an old building. It was like used for like it was like a
Insane
hospital.
asylum?
Well, probably, but it was like a hospital or something. It was like something to that effect, like in the years ago.
Wow.
So it was only two floors and had like ramps and everything.
Yeah.
So it was like used for, I guess, wheelchairs and all that stuff, whatever. But it was like you had a thing, you can go back there and I think you could like take a brick or something like later on down the line
Yeah.
or something. But it was like that. But it was something like that where it's like I haven't been there in years. This is maybe 5 or 6 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And obviously I graduated in 2001. So
That's so awesome. You started saying that, it just started reminding me like when we were in middle school. So our middle school was you're part of the high school, but it's just like a different wing. In middle school, we had half lockers. So you had a locker that was about 3.5 feet tall,
yeah.
Okay.
stacked on top of each other. So someone was on the
Yeah,
bottom
yeah.
and you were on the top. It wasn't a shared locker, like it divided, like there are 2 different doors.
Yeah.
But I remember going out and buying like my own lock.
Combination lock.
Yeah, but for this was for the gym because we had our own like combo that they gave us for the lockers, and then I had my own lock for the gym.
okay.
and you could only have it if you took gym that semester or whatever. And I remember just thinking like, oh, it's cool. And remember looking forward to getting into high school, like 9th grade, so we could have our own top and bottom. And so when you got to high school, you had the small top and then like that long bottom.
Okay.
It was like a 5-foot bottom and like a 2-foot top or whatever. And I just thought it was like cool because you could hang your own jacket and have your own stuff. I was like, it's sad to think about it now, but it was like you had your own personal space because in elementary school you had your own desk, so you kept all your books and stuff in your own desk on the little it was like a 1-shelf desk, and you shoved all like your books and stuff in there.
It was just like a desk with a hole in the middle.
Yeah, and then it was weird when we went to middle school. It was a basket underneath your seat, and then like this little skinny like tiny desk, like, and I was small, and it was still small for me. And I'm thinking, I'm like, what do we do with all our stuff? I'm like, oh, we all get lockers. I'm like, we're going to get a locker. And another thing about middle school is you're allowed to use pens. In elementary school, we had to use pencils. And I remember looking forward to using a blue pen. I don't know why.
I remember you had to be allowed to use a pen or something like that because you have to be, you have to write well enough to be able to use a pen.
Your handwriting had to be a specific.
Mine was totally terrible, so.
Oh my gosh.
I had erasable pens.
Oh, that's so smart.
Erasable
that's
pens.
hilarious.
Although those are the worst because then it like smears
Smudged,
galore.
or you erased it so much and the paper ended up shredding away. Like ripping up.
Yeah. Also, the other thing, the big change I remember from elementary school was we actually had an actual recess where we would like play kickball or football or basketball. And then in high school, I was like, I remember being in 7th and 8th grade, like, yo, does anybody want to throw a football? Why aren't we like playing right now? I was that like level. That was my mentality still. Like, anyone want to have a catch? And I realized that's just where you just chill and like your break was just hanging out.
Or you played hacky sack. Remember
hacky sack?
Yeah. I do remember hacky sack. We didn't do that, but I do remember hacky sack.
I remember playing hacky sack. We would sit out
that
there.
was like the 90s thing.
Oh,
Yeah, late 2000s. Because I remember, late 90s.
You said late 2000s.
What the
Did you
heck?
graduate in
I
1999?
graduated in 99, dude. Where am I at?
Oh, man.
But yeah, I remember because our lunchroom was split in like the one section where you had like it was not really a store, but it also had like the section where they sold tokens and stuff.
Okay.
For public transportation. There was a section there, and I think there was like the bathroom stuff were in that area. But then there was the main thing that had like obviously your line for the food and stuff within the tables. But everybody stayed in the section where, because there wasn't as many people over there where they sold the tokens and stuff. Or you had a very specific time. If you're going to buy tokens, you had to buy it on a certain day or something. So there were a bunch of people who were playing the hacky sack. You see a giant circle of everybody just like kicking the hacky sack around.
I remember the other thing looking forward to middle school was like the food. So in elementary school, you got served, you could only get whatever they were serving.
Yeah.
And then like they had a table, like a long lunch table that had snacks. So you get like chips, like a couple tasty cakes, and then they had like a little freezer where you can get ice cream or whatever. But everything had wheels. Like it was like, you know, it was mobile. So it would move as soon as like lunch was over or whatever.
Oh,
we would have gym class or whatever and like push ourselves on those little platform scooter things, put your butt on it and like scooting with your feet. So then in middle school, obviously we had whatever the high school had, and they actually had like a snack stand.
Okay,
so you can buy whatever you want. And I was just blown away because they sold Twix there, and I thought it was cool as hell. But then for lunch, they always had pizza and fries every day. But they had like a menu, and mozzarella sticks. So you can get pizza and fries and like a side cup of cheese or whatever if you wanted cheese fries or
and
whatever.
Pretzels too, because I remember in elementary school they didn't have pretzels every day.
Soft pretzels.
It was like on Tuesdays or Thursdays they'll have the soft pretzels, but in high school they had a snack stand where you can get the pretzels every day.
Because I remember in elementary school, at least like you said, it was like you got whatever they had that day.
Yeah.
But for us, I remember like you always got the milk or whatever it is. But I don't know. At some point, they transitioned to like this pouch of milk. It wasn't even like a carton. It was like this.
That bags.
It was literally like a
bagged milk.
It was literally a bag. It was almost like a Capri
Sun.
But it was just like a big
Capri Moon.
Yo, it didn't even have like a label on it.
But you had like the Capri Sun thing you'd like poke in the middle of it. It was really bizarre.
The straw, yeah.
It was like
I remember going to middle school and starting out that we had vending machines that we were allowed to access
machines
too.
was a new thing too.
And Snapple, Kiwi Strawberry Snapple was out, and we were able, and it was $1, and we were able to go there, grab that. Or buy iced tea from Rosenberg's, whatever the brand, like the dairy. And it was like iced tea, orange drink, orange juice, lemonade, and a fruit punch.
Yeah, it wasn't that vending machines themselves obviously been around forever. It was vending machines were available to us because in elementary school there was like a vending machine, but it was only available for the faculty or whatever.
Yeah, there wasn't any vending machines till high school too.
Yeah.
But even then, like I'm in my there was one teacher. Well, actually, I had him for algebra 2, like in 10th or 11th grade, whatever it was. That he had like the 10 minutes before class started, or in between, like, you know, in between walking to class and stuff. You could always go in there. He had like a whole thing of like sodas and Starburst and Skittles and all kinds of like snacks and candy and stuff.
Yeah.
So he was still in the beginning of class. So like the first like 5 minutes of like everybody trying to like run through in between class, he'll run that, and then like the last like 5 minutes he like starts setting up again, like so people start coming in and buying more stuff, whatever. So it was like a weird thing where they kind of cut the class a little short just because he was selling stuff in between.
I remember we had something like that. It was called morning snack, and it was like at 9 o'clock every day. This guy would come around with a lunch basket full of like crackers or cookies. You remember that?
Yeah,
it was like cookies,
chips.
yeah, like chips or whatever, and it was like 30 cents for a pack of like, you know, 4-pack of like Chips Ahoy cookies or a 4-pack of Oreo cookies or whatever.
Yeah.
And they will come. It was like 9 o'clock every day. And you can have a snack time. So they'll cut that period for like 15 minutes, and they'll come around, and whoever wanted to buy snack bought snack, and the teacher would just keep teaching, but it would like kind of set everything off where they won't really go. Do you remember that?
Awesome. No, we didn't have that.
You didn't have that? Yeah, I remember.
If we did, I remember seeing someone do it, but I think by the time I got there, it was they took that.
No, this is
program.
elementary school. Like this, I was in
elementary
fourth
school?
grade.
Oh wow! I thought it was like a high school. Or something.
No,
But
I
I
was
feel
in
like I
fourth
remember
grade.
that basket.
It was
Like,
a laundry
it was
basket.
A laundry basket.
Yeah, and it would just go around with snacks and selling stuff.
I feel like I remember.
And,
Dude,
and it was
talking
always the
about
6th graders that would do it. 5th and 6th graders would
My
do it.
second grade teacher smoked, and not in the school, but I remember like we would have like a reading session, and she would walk right outside the doorway of like it was technically outside, but there was like a step and then like a cover. So even on rainy days, she was still out there. Like I remember just smoking her parliaments. I remember reading the box or understanding enough that it said parliament.
In the middle of
whatever.
class teaching, you should just open the window and just
Yeah.
No, they used to in like
was
the
like-
teachers' lounge.
And
they would
teachers' lounge
smoke.
they used to, right?
Yeah.
That I remember
Yes,
too. They used
yeah.
to smoke in there. And I remember on the way to lunch, it would smell like that mixture of like gross food and cigarettes.
Yeah, even when I first started high school, I was in 7th grade. Like if you smoked, you were allowed to just go outside and smoke. Even on lunchtime, you just go outside as long as you're outside the facility, you could smoke.
Oh wow!
It's crazy.
Yeah,
So
smoking on
crazy.
school grounds. I mean, I remember seeing pictures like at school in the library. You would look at like the old yearbooks, and there's people literally smoking
In the
inside the school,
classes, yeah.
inside the classrooms.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I
like,
remember talking
that was
to a guy who
allowed
like,
to.
He
Yeah.
was 18,
weird.
like his senior year, and he said he walked around with his own little ashtray and cigarettes to each class.
Huh.
And was
Well,
smoking
could you
while the
imagine
teacher
if
was.
you-
Because that's the one thing too of like
Smoke.
our generation transitioned from out of like smoking in buildings and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like there was like the very tail end. I guess
That's
us-
why they
when we're
they
super
all have
young.
allergies.
Yeah.
In public school, we obviously they gave us our books. We didn't pay for our books.
Yeah.
But it was our job to
Well,
take
so-
care of the book.
Oh yeah.
So, do you guys remember what you covered your books
Yeah.
with? We had like a
Brown
book cover
paper bag.
We had a
It was
book
like the
cover
shopping
day.
Because it depends. Like it depend. I don't know when it was. Each semester was like either used like recycled like the shopping bag from the grocery
Yep,
store,
from the grocery
Yeah.
store.
or like, ever so often we'll get like you get like the kind of pre-folded ones. You can kind of just like fold it up and like. But they're like not designer,
Yeah,
but they were like
designer.
Yeah.
they're more colorful. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I remember our school gave us some, and I used the one so I saw what they were doing, so I figured I had to fold how to measure it or whatever, and it
Yeah.
was like this cheesy design, like the
Yeah.
worst thing ever. And then someone genius flipped it inside out, like
It was
turned the paper
all
around,
white.
and it was all white. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome,
Yeah.
all white. Like I hated the
And then you
design
could-
that was
yeah,
on
you
there.
make your own design on
And
it.
then you
Yeah.
just did
Yeah.
whatever you want, and you wrote on it however you want it. So that's what I always ended up
Put all
doing. But
graffiti on it.
for the most part, I used brown paper bag. Like
Yeah.
my mom would go
Actually,
grocery
that was like the
shopping.
best.
That was
thing.
the
That,
easiest thing,
that
yeah.
would last all
That
year
would
long.
last.
Yeah, 'cause
too.
it's so thick.
Yeah.
Now they want like my girls had to get contact paper to cover their books. So we're going all over the place looking for contact paper to cover the books.
What the heck is contact paper?
You know the liners you put into the drawer for
Does not stick onto there?
no,
Sticky.
it doesn't leave sticky though.
Oh,
You know the like
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
drawers.
I thought that was somewhat permanent. That's why.
No,
Yeah.
they want you to use that,
We
but it
had,
has to be
like-
clear.
Huh.
They want you to do that, but it has to
I
be
know
clear
what you-
also.
Yeah, we had that too growing up.
Yeah.
We had that. Like once I got to high school, they had the elastic things, the cool like
Yeah, I
material
remember
you could
that.
wrap around. That was like the cool thing to have, like the material. You
I
get them at
remember that.
AC Moore. You got like And it was cheap too. Actually, like now that I
You
thought
got
about
like
it,
5 colors or something like that. I
yeah,
remember
like
seeing it.
$10. You had every book covered, and it was like you felt like you were part of the
Well,
in
we didn't
crowd.
spend anything. We had brown paper bags.
No, I remember doing the brown paper.
Yeah,
I remember in elementary school. I remember
Yeah.
in middle school. I did it. It was like my junior senior year when I finally bought like my own like those elastic material, whatever it was. It was like I don't know.
Yeah, after 9th grade, I didn't cover my books. I just got in trouble, and the teacher just stopped telling me to cover my book.
Dude, do you guys remember like in public school, since we had the books, you would sign your name on the
On the
back end,
backside?
and people were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
dude,
And
there was like
every
stuff from like
year-
the 70s. I
Every
remember it
year
was
you
like,
see, oh, who had this book and who had that book?
dude, we're learning at a book from the 70s, dude.
It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
think
it's
about
bad.
that, it was like I remember someone signed their name. It was like 78, you know, like whatever.
It was
John.
like,
so
now,
like
now,
78.
mind you, it's like 1994. It's like 20 years,
That's what I'm
almost
saying, it
20
was
years
like
later. It's
20
what
years
the
later.
They
heck?
had like history books from like the 50s and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was their argument. Like, well, history didn't change.
But
Which
there's
is hilarious.
so much history that's.
Well, they
between
put
all
in the
that.
history
Yeah.
they wanted to put in,
Sure.
Yeah,
which makes it
absolutely.
even funnier.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, oh man, that's classic. Signing your name
I forgot about that.
Dude,
on the back
yeah.
of it.
That's crazy. That is so crazy. And I remember when there was a couple times where
Dude.
we got brand new books. I think it was like 5th or 6th grade. They were like brand new. We were the first ones to sign it. I was like, yeah, we're the first ones to sign it. And it's like, from here on out, it's like,
Yeah.
we get to now after all these
Yeah.
years.
That's hilarious. Dude, I remember, dude, we're in high school and we had like our uniforms for sports. We had to return them.
Yep.
Like that's how bad it was. Like
Yeah,
I
we
was
just
wearing
burned.
like I graduated in 2003. Definitely wearing like stuff from the 90s, like uniforms from the 90s.
I thought I was wearing basketball shorts from the 70s. There were Daisy Dukes. My boxer shorts were longer.
Yeah, we had days.
my
And I remember the
shorts.
year after we left, they finally got like new shorts, and that was when big shorts were in. Dude, of course, my senior year, we had to wear compression pants underneath just so it wouldn't look so
Weird.
crazy. Yeah.
So for me, like, well, I think for high school, I don't know specifically because I didn't have regular gym class, but I think you had to buy like whatever their version. It was like a basic. Our colors were gold and black, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think you had to buy like it was like a yellow shirt and like black basketball shorts. But I think you bought it from the store. It wasn't anything dramatic, but I think
Right.
it was cheap. But I actually got away with not having regular gym actually because our school actually had a pool. So either like with the year I had gym, you either had one or the other.
You wore your briefs for gym?
What?
The swimming briefs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wore a Speedo. But I no, but like so, but anytime after that, like since I started working in the computer lab, that like initially at least that counted as your gym credit, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So like the first year was like 9th grade. I had
Well, that's
swim
because
class.
your gym teacher was your computer lab teacher.
Well, that's
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, that
well,
makes
actually-
sense.
well, that was elementary school. High school, the health teacher was the gym teacher.
That
Yeah, it
makes-
was us
that
for
makes
us,
sense. That's
too.
how it was for us too. Yeah.
And our coach.
Well, yeah, and I think he coached football or something like that
Yeah.
too. But yeah,
One
but
thing that I remember us having, that I thought it was like a lot of people said they didn't have, was we had wood shop.
I was just about to say that.
Home
Wood
ec.
shop.
They had home ec.
I had home
Well, I
ec.
didn't go to because that was like an elective.
okay.
So I remember choosing wood shop, and we actually made things, and it was actually like,
Yeah.
legit.
I had
Yeah.
one shop,
I had that in
economics.
elementary school. We had home
Wood
ec.
shop.
We had home ec, and we had it was half and half of the year.
Wow.
We had home ec and half whatever the hell it was called wood
Wood
shop, metal shop, whatever it was. We made like little shovels and all kinds of crap in there.
Wow, that's awesome.
That is cool. I remember we had wood shop and home ec, and we would do half a year. It was half a year the wood
Yeah.
shop, the other half would be the home ec class.
Yeah.
And I liked both of them. And then home ec they split it in half, and then the other half you would do. Oh man, what
You
was
would
it called?
cook, or you would do like
Sewing and all that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a pillow one year.
Yeah, I made a pair of shorts that never fit
by the
me.
time I got
Made a
there,
hoodie.
it was like another elective was thrown in there.
Well,
Oh,
then
really?
they had for us it was wood shop, home ec, computer, and
Yeah, I
something
think it was
else.
computer by the
It was like
time we got
computer lab
there.
and something
Okay.
else.
Music and art. Yeah, because you could pick people
Yeah.
pick music and art as their electives also.
Okay. That was high school, or
Yeah, high
Okay.
school.
In high school, you could pick what you want. So every year in high school, I picked woodshop was my only elective, and I would
Okay.
make
It
like
was. I had art. That's
I would
what-
make
that's what it
all
was.
types of
Instead
stuff.
of
I
home
made
ec, I
pool
took my art- I
tables,
took art
clocks.
class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I made like fancy stuff because our group would always want to
Heck was fancy.
build. That was fancy. That was the only class that I ever got 100 in.
oh well.
Damn, 100.
Yeah,
Wow.
woodshop.
Us, we were only allowed to take it so many times throughout our career.
Okay.
See, they stopped that. I took it 4 years straight.
Yeah, see, we weren't allowed to do that. You could only take it once. They wanted us to be, I guess, a little bit more well-rounded.
Diverse, yeah.
Yeah.
with that.
But
Well, like you said, if you went to woodshop, you got 100 every year. Damn, you're passing with flying colors. You want to get another elective.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other elective was, I know we had art. Art was dope. I liked our art teacher.
Yes.
And, I remember having like small engine repair.
Oh,
Like a small
Really?
engine
Oh, I
repair.
remember you went out and bought a toolbox.
Yeah, I remember I bought a toolbox
Yeah.
and like we had to buy our
Who
own
was
little
that?
tools.
Who taught that?
Mr. Manassi. He was like a middle school.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember you talked about that you took the class, or you were going to take the class.
Yeah,
and
I just
Pop went
wow,
out and
that's
bought you some
different.
tools.
Small engine repair,
That's
and then like we had archery. Like these are all electives.
Archery's
Like,
an
It was the
elective.
same thing. Same thing. It was the same teacher. This guy was awesome. Like he was like an outdoorsman, so he brought into play all this like cooler
Nice.
like whatever. Yeah, or was that or like have like silent sustained reading.
SSR.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
which
first
I was
grade
like,
and on.
Okay, yeah, but oh no, man, like I said, like now I started thinking about it, I was like, God, we did actually have some level of like opportunity, like
Yeah.
to take
The
advantage. Some
best-
kids like
but that's one thing. Well, like for me at least, my high school was kind of, it was like a low level version of like almost like had like majors and stuff like that too. Like,
Yeah.
Well, you could, because my sister went for like the quote unquote business degree or
Yeah.
business like high school track, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I had like the computer track, whatever, because we had like random like what's called CAD, was like computer assisted design and stuff like that too.
Oh, I remember that.
So it was like we had like, and like obviously that's what, and we had like a super low level like physics and stuff like that too. So it was like it was geared towards kind of like what you were interested in, because we had a horticulture program and stuff like that too. So they had like
Yeah.
in the middle of the way our school was set up, you like in between hallways was all squares, but in between there was gardens and stuff. So they had horticulture
Like a
obviously. you know,
courtyard,
other-
yeah.
pick flowers
we
and
had,
stuff.
We had a
Yeah.
courtyard that we never used. They use it now.
do they? What
Yeah,
do they use it for?
It's gardens. Like they have. Like,
Oh, they
fruits
actually,
and
like-
vegetables.
oh,
the
that's
kids actually
awesome.
pick them and they grow them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes sense. I always remembered. I'm like, what? That's like that cool space. I always want to go
Well,
in.
that's when I first started. There
where they
was
were smoking,
Yeah,
right?
they would go in there and smoke. They were like outside, so you could smoke in between classes. So students can go in that courtyard, smoke, and then go back to switch classes.
Yeah, I remember like 7th grade and 8th grade. It was locked.
Yeah,
Like,
it was,
Yeah.
so
they
then
locked the doors.
When I went to high school, like 9th grade on, it was locked. Like no one, they changed
Yeah.
the rules. No one was allowed in there.
By the time I left, they opened it up like just because I was part of like some club that we were able to like we helped clean it up or something like that,
wow.
and that was the
Environment class.
End of it. Yeah, it was
Dude, my
like for
favorite
Earth
class
Day
was-
or something.
Spanish. Spanish was the best, dude.
Yeah,
Because first of all, I already thought that we got away with everything because the guy's name was our last name.
Okay.
no
So-
relation.
no relation at all. And everyone swore that he was like our uncle and stuff like that. Dude, I don't even know how the heck I passed it because the dialect was so different.
Yeah.
It was so off to how Puerto Ricans speak.
Yeah, but well, because I had Spanish 1 and 2 in high school too. But it's like they teach you like Spain Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But all I know is that I would walk in the beginning of the class and yo, Velez, I need a bathroom pass. Gone for the rest of the day. I'll come back like 10 minutes later, like literally, or I'll go to the nurse, and then nobody else will have a chance. 'Cause I would just like walk around the hallways, and then when a test came, I just kind of guessed on what I was, what
You
the
just
way.
made it.
Yeah, I just barely made
Yeah.
it. So like for me, I didn't really pay no attention to it.
But we did have an Italian teaching Italian.
Mr. Samania.
Yeah, Mr. Samani. I took Italian 1 year and Spanish 1 or 2 years.
I mean, they would make fun of me because the other kids would have better grades than me. They're like, "How are we getting better grades than Hector?" And I'm looking at them. I'm like, this is not what I speak, right? Like this is Spanish, but it's not the Spanish that I speak at home. So
Sure.
I'm learning it just like you are, but it's harder for me because I
You're
know
used to a
it
certain
one way.
way.
I'm
You
used
have
to it
to
one way.
unlearn stuff.
Yeah, and I have to learn the Ebonics way of speaking Spanish because that's.
No,
pretty much
we
what it
know.
was.
we know
That's
the
what I'm saying.
Ebonics
No,
way.
I had to unlearn the
Yeah.
Ebonics ways,
Well,
like
even
to
then,
learn
that's still-
the proper way.
What they teach you there is still different dialects within
Yeah,
Spanish,
absolutely.
different kinds of Spanish and stuff
Absolutely.
like that too. But that's when like I know in high school like Spanish too. I was like whatever they say I understood after that. Since we didn't speak it at home. I forgot all that stuff at home.
Yeah.
Which is like now that's when like I know little bits and pieces here and there, but
Yeah, mantequilla.
exactly.
Pan con queso.
But yeah, I had a good run in school. 5th grade, I was
That was your highlight.
grounded. That was my highlight.
That was his highlight. Fifth.
That
I was
you peaked the 5th grade.
grounded from October
peak.
to May. That's how good I was in 5th grade. Teacher was calling my house every single day because I was acting up.
Yeah, it was funny you said the woodshop thing. I remember in 3rd grade, like I wasn't doing too hot, But I was doing enough. Like I was passing, but I remember just like feeling like, dang,
Whatever.
dude, these kids are like they're blowing past me. I never forget we had a project where we had to build our own, like we're learning about like the Native Americans coming to America, blah blah blah. So we had to build our own little scene of what we thought the little the Native American land looked like before the quote pilgrims came or whatever.
What was that called?
I don't know.
The actual project in the
In the
like
shoebox.
shoebox, right?
Oh,
Oh, that's a
diorama?
shadow box. You're thinking of a shadow box. That was different.
Yeah.
But
No.
Not diorama. Right?
Diorama, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Diorama?
inside of a shoebox, but it was like colorful and it was like all picked up. Like
You can make like little figures
Yeah,
or
you
Yeah, you
made-
made
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. I remember.
doing that in 4th grade.
Yep.
Miss D. Groot.
Because I remember we did something like that too. I forget what it
Okay,
was.
so I guess that is what I did. It was a diorama, I guess.
Diorama,
Okay.
yeah.
So I remember building out of like what are those little fuzzy straw
Pipe cleaners.
Pipe cleaners.
Oh, okay.
I used pipe cleaners to build basically it was like a semicircle tent. Instead of doing a teepee, in my mind I'm like I'm going to do something different. So I built like this it almost looked like
Like
a
a hut?
greenhouse. Yeah, like a hut, but it was like a long and then I put paper bag from like the grocery store, cut it out and like glued it at the bottoms and then cut like a perfect semicircle for the door, a semicircle for the back, and I had like these little plastic figures. I had real dirt on the
Oh,
dude,
wow.
she gave me like 110 on it.
Oh wow.
I don't know. It was like 'cause
Creativity.
back then. No, you can get extra credit for certain
Yeah, for
things. And
extra,
she's like
yeah.
You went
people.
above and
Yeah,
beyond.
I went beyond. Like I'm like you brought in real dirt. Like what in the world?
He glued the dirt
But
down.
I remember thinking like my mind went crazy. Like I was just addicted to this little project. But then like sitting there and learning, I was just like
Yeah.
I was like a dead. Like my mind just got shot.
Yeah.
But when I was doing something like that where it was like creative, I went all in. Like, and it's weird and it's kind of sad in the same way. But like that's just what that's just what it
Yeah.
is. But like now I know they approach education a little bit different,
Sure.
where they see if a kid is like shining in one area, they try to like may or may not cater depending on the
Yeah.
the school system that you're in. But yeah, man, that was like one of my favorite projects. I just thought of that.
That's awesome.
I think my
And
only project I ever did was a solar system where I got styrofoam balls and we started painting them and the paint was so toxic that the styrofoam started melting.
Oh wow.
Wow.
But then so I had to go out and get new styrofoam balls and then we used marker and just colored it around. I actually got a decent grade on it. Nothing, but that was like probably the only
Speaking of
project
that,
I ever
reminds me
did.
of like the science fairs.
Oh yeah.
The science fair's doing I remember I tested the durability of paper towels. And believe it or not, so I got all these brands of paper towels, and how I would do it was I would dunk like a strip of the paper towel in water, and then from science class, remember like the little weights
Oh,
that you
yeah.
had to balance, I would put like 5 grams on it to see
Yeah.
how much it would hold
Okay.
or whatever, and whatever broke, whatever. And it was like this Markle. Is that a brand? Yeah,
Nah,
Markle.
That sounds familiar.
Markle. That brand was like better than Bounty and all these other brands. And I remember my science teacher was like, isn't that something? It's like a cheap brand. Like
Yeah.
it's cheap. Like, you know what I mean? And it ended up being like, and he remember telling me, he's like, I buy Markle now because of your science
There you
fair
go.
project.
Great.
That's funny.
I remember physics was like one of my favorite classes. It was
Wait, who?
Physics?
Wait, I don't even
I
know.
don't,
We had that?
I don't even remember having
Yeah,
physics.
you were in my physics class because I went to Great Adventure. You didn't. That's what I looked forward to, is going to Great Adventure.
No, I do remember physics actually.
Physics, we had measure the speed
Yeah.
of like the roller coasters and the of it stopping and all that stuff. So I went mainly for the ride because I just copied the answers off this other kid and I passed.
There
But
you go.
literally, like that's what I went to physics. But it was fun. It was actually a fun class because I like learned a lot of
Physics.
physics.
Yeah.
So-
What was his favorite class?
Physics.
So put that together. I do
And
remember
English.
one science project that I did, it was a science fair or whatever. It was like the reaction time of, like, the human reaction time in like a dim room or whatever. So we got like a meter stick,
Okay.
and that's how we basically measured. So we would hold it like 5 inches above like the person. So the person would like almost like they're gonna pinch the meter stick. So we would just not tell them when we were gonna drop it in like a dim room, And so like sometimes it would hit the floor, bounce up, and then they would pinch it or whatever. So
I
it
know you
was
don't.
like, so there's a lot of like mistakes with it. So then we had people stand on a chair. So then if they miss it, they just miss it completely.
Oh, well, okay.
And then we're able to whatever. But it was interesting because then when you turn the light on, people have better reaction times.
Of course.
And then we did something with like color bulbs.
Okay.
Like it was like a red, blue, and like green or something. And people had different reaction times to like the color of like I don't know, it was interesting. But that stuff like fascinated me because it was like I was physically doing
project,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, all right, like we had to strategize on how we're putting this together or whatever. And then putting together like that board, that threefold
Yeah.
board. So dumb. Like
Oh,
print it. That was like when printers were like crap and we're like printing like images of like it was this
They
big
weren't lazy.
fuzzy,
They were,
like,
they were Matrix.
I'll say
we're
dot
using
matrix,
word
yeah.
art.
Dot Matrix
the top.
printers.
It was like the
Oh, yeah.
ruler. Who rules the rule? I came up with some dumb pun, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
that was what you printed out in word art.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my
glued it.
goodness, word art. Dot Matrix is best though because it made that and
like
going
9
back and
years
forth.
to-
It took forever to print out, and you look at it, it's literally like little dots in the print.
Dude, I remember printing out stuff. What was this stuff with like the strips
Perforated?
on the sides?
That's
That's
matrix.
That's Dot
I
Matrix.
remember that.
So I remember, I guess Temple, like their first, one of the big computer labs.
Yeah, they
always
still had
it,
that.
They when you sent your thing to the printer, it was limited to like 20 pages, something like that.
Yeah,
too.
I remember that.
Because but you had to put your name on there or something, whatever it was. But yeah, but all you heard was like in
And
the
then you
whole
had
lab.
to tear it. It didn't even like it wasn't like a page that went off to the side of printing. You had to like rip it. Make sure you rip the perforated part properly.
And that's
'cause
what the
page
attendant.
is ripped.
That's what the attendant like in front of the class who monitored the ripping the papers.
I know
and-
some people had it to science where they'll just hold it up and pluck it, and it would just like come right off. I don't know if you ever seen that.
Nah. That's hilarious though.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Back to school. If you're going back to school,
We went back in.
we went back in the day school. Good luck with everything. Study hard. Stay in school, kids. Take physics. All right. With that being said, we like to wrap up each episode with a quote, with two quotes, and the first one's by Tom Bodett. In school, you're taught a lesson and then given a test. In life, you're given a test that teaches you a lesson.
Nice.
And by Shakuntala Devi, education is not just going to school and getting a degree. It's about widening your knowledge and absorbing the truth about life. All right, there you have it, folks. Back to school. In this episode, the crew talks about their experiences with going back to school, both as kids and as adults. We cover topics that range from the first day of school, our favorite outfits, and our best school memories. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Shakuntala Devi and Tom Bodett. We'll leave the light on for you. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.